Hello and welcome back to the Overdue Sports Show. I would normally say it's episode 25, but we're finally here. We're doing things a little bit differently for the next couple of weeks, couple of months. But before we get into that, I'm your host, Jake Sawinski, as always accompanied by Will Massa. How we doing, Will?
We made it. Week 0. It is time. Let's just dive right in. Explain what we're doing and what our show and what our cadence is going to look like for the next 3.5 months of gridiron.
Right, exactly. So college football, as everybody knows, starts a little bit earlier, and I'm very glad to be done with the constant baseball talk and kind of recycling the same things. But we're kind of keeping it, structurally the same as last year, kind of how we did things, from week to week, except we're just adding in a little bit of extra things, I guess, kind of rearranging what we do and when. So our plan is early in the week, whether it be Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever, right? It might scheduling might fall different days, but our plan is to get a written piece out for all of our picks during the week. That way, if you're subscribed to our Substack, you can see those early. We'll tweet the link and do all the normal stuff, but you'll see our 5, 6, 7, 8, how many games we decide from week to week. Well, you'll see those picks in written form early in the week. Then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, somewhere in between, our plan is to do a live show where we run through those hand-picked selected games and dive real deep into those. We want to do it in a live format because you bet, I bet, you kind of bet how you bet, right? You're not going to see angles from things that you don't pick out. So I think it's a really good way, Will agrees, it's a really good way to get some engagement as well as, hey, maybe you have an angle here. We want to talk about that game. We can look into that as well and discuss it on a live show. After that live show is done, we're going to take that live show and then upload it like a normal episode. So the numbering of the things are going to look a little different. Not that that's really all that important, anyways, but that's kind of our plan, right? And then I think maybe you can speak to this too. It's going to be similar for NFL as well, right? Like,
Yeah, we're working on the format for NFL. College football, we kind of nailed the formatting last year because we were producing articles last year for it, and we had the recorded shows, and then we put the picks out on Twitter every Saturday morning. So basically, what it's going to look like is articles on either Tuesday or Wednesday, live show Thursday or Friday. Saturday will be the uploaded podcast along with the picks coming out on Twitter. Obviously, the more things you subscribe to, the earlier you get the things. And the reason we want to do it as a live show in the later part of the week is because the lines change, right? We're putting out our picks on Tuesday, which is what we did last year. And the reason for that is lines move. So we try and jump on them early. We try and figure out what we like early. Sometimes we don't bet them until the live show on Thursday, but we usually pick our side. And then if we end up flipping, we would announce that on the Thursday show. But more often than not, we usually stay pretty true. As far as what games we talk about, every single week we handpick 7 or 8 games. That's what we did last year. We had between 7 and 8 every single week of the regular season. And it's really just the games that we like. So, there's usually half of them are the really big games. Then there's some middle tier games of teams that we follow or like. And then there's usually 1 or 2 like silly MAC games or, a mid-major game that actually has some intrigue to it. So we
usually not though.
Yeah, we usually get
usually Power 5, Power 4.
Yeah, usually Power 5, but we go all the way across the board. We'll do some looks in different games if there's a total that we like. It's not always just a side. So there might be more picks than there are games if we have a really big conviction on a certain total as well. But Jake, you can read the how we did last year for everybody wondering.
Yeah, we were 52 and 24 for plus 26.3 units. Now, I know I personally wasn't that. Will probably personally wasn't that either. It was kind of just a culmination of the picks we ran through, and like if we were conflicting, like say we were conflicting on 2 of the games, we would just pick, okay, we'll put out Jake's or we'll put out Will's for this game. So it was kind of just whatever we released as official picks, and that was our record, and it's pretty damn good. We were hitting at, what is that, 67%. So hopefully the correction isn't coming yet. Maybe we can push that can down the road a little bit longer.
At least for 2026.
Yeah, exactly.
Get one more good year out of it.
Yeah, one more good year out of it now that we're pretty excited and chomping at the bit to really get going. Hopefully, yes, we can delay the inevitable correction. But we're super excited for the new format. I don't know if it's excited. We're excited because it's football or, something different or a mixture of everything. But we're pretty excited to get back on the grindstone and talk about some football. Saturday's going to be a big day. Anything else you want to say before
let's jump in? It's week 0 time. Let's get into it.
All right. First game, it's the Dublin game. I believe it's in Dublin, Ireland. It's a short board. It's only 5 games. Typically week 0. If I remembered correctly, last year they'd sprinkle in a few games here and there. I don't remember. Maybe they just went to the Saturday one-day thing. But it's only 5 games, and the first one's 11 a.m. Big 12 competition, Iowa State and Kansas State. Kansas State is laying 3, and the over-under is 49.5. I know what I'm doing already. You gave me the little nugget that this was the overseas game because we were talking pre-show. I'm like, I always bet the dog in the overseas game. I changed my mind, but I think we're pretty calibrated here.
We are. The Aer Lingus College Football Classic. Got to go with the dog. I think it's time. And you pointed this out to me pre-show as well. It seems like everybody's on Kansas State, and for good reason. They were picked, I believe they're the odds-on favorite, along with one other team to win the Big 12, like we talked about last week. Both teams are coming in with pretty good quarterback play, both well-coached teams. Kansas State has historically been a little bit better, but I think this is just going to be a really, really good game. And like you said, the dog has won this game outright in 3 consecutive years.
It was the last 2
for
sure. Whenever the Northwestern Nebraska game was, I think that's when that started. I don't know if that was the first game they did, but I remember like Scott Frost, that was the year he got fired. They lost outright to Northwestern. And then last year, Georgia Tech beat Florida State outright in the same time window. So I'm a pretty contrarian bettor. You know that. Anyone who listens to this knows that. But I don't like fading those trends if I can help it. And Kansas State should be like much better. I don't know about you. Iowa State, yes, they're well coached. Yes, their quarterback play is solid. I'd say Kansas State's better, like you alluded to.
I would agree with that.
But Iowa State always leaves me feeling a little anemic. Maybe it's just because I always have the Iowa State game stuck in my head, and that's just how I perceive that team. But if you kind of take everything you said there, 3 looks a little short, given it, yes, it is a neutral site game, so maybe that line's about right. But I see a lot of Kansas State action, so I think I'm
the Cyclones
checking all the boxes. Yeah, checking all the boxes. Iowa State.
I'm going to throw another one out there, and this was I actually bet the under last year as well. I'm going to go back to I remember I bet the under because it was pouring in Dublin, and I remember we were texting about it. I was like, we have to do it. So I'm actually going to go back to it. It's one of those weird travel things where you're overseas, you're playing at 11 a.m. our time, which I believe is, I don't know what time it is there, but it's a weird time difference.
It'd be like 6 o'clock. There.
Yeah, it was a pretty sleepy start to the game last year, although I believe it was a little bit earlier in the morning. I actually like the under here as well, 49.5. Cyclones and the under are what I like in this one. But definitely
I like both of those as well. I don't know if I'm gonna, start the college football season off with a, full side full under, but we'll see if I add that under as well, but I think both of those picks are endorsed by us, and we could probably release both of those, seeing as there's only 5 games.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those
and I
definitely be out
mean
there.
the rest of the slate, like there's
Not a
two
whole lot of fun
plays you
stuff.
should make. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the next one, like the consolation, we're making this game happen because it's a game. Idaho State is playing UNLV. It opened up at 21.5. From what I could see, it's now 24.5. That totals what, 63.5.
Mm-hmm.
UNLV is
Is
getting
yeah, 64 and a half.
giving. Yeah, okay. UNLV is laying 24.5. Um, I'm sure you don't have a strong conviction about this game either, but you should lay them. But I don't really see there to be a reason to. UNLV is always a pretty frisky football team, even
Yeah.
in Mountain West play. And I don't know anything about Idaho State. I know they are an FCS team. I don't know if they're good or not, but I don't see myself jumping in front of a train for no reason in week 0.
No. No. So I'm 100% with you in terms of I would just lay them. Just lay the just lay it if you really want to do it.
Yeah.
This is not a game that I don't think either of us will actually bet, but the pick we'll put out there is UNLV with the points.
Yeah, if you were to make a wager in this game, I would target the over, just because this is a game that UNLV should be trying to make a statement in. I mean, I don't even think they have to try, but I'm not convinced like Idaho State is going to be like a complete disaster either. So if I were to make a play here, it'd probably be the over. It's already steamed up a point. It's not like you're not losing a ton like with a key number there. I mean, they kick extra points, so you needed 9 touchdowns before or 10 touchdowns before. At 63.5, you still need that. So that's kind of my way of looking at it. I'd play that total. Next game on the slate.
On. This one's
Yep.
actually a fun one.
Yeah, Sam Houston, and I think I went out of order for the
Oh yeah, you did.
two.
Fresno
Yeah,
State and Kansas.
Yep, there you go. Sorry, yeah, I flip-flopped one. I think
this one is so Kansas is laying 12.5.
Yep.
They're at home, which means they're playing at Arrowhead, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Which I will never understand. Are they playing? I thought I saw they were playing at Arrowhead.
They might be. I'll just double check.
I will never understand why a college football team would go out of their way to not play at campus. But in the couple of games last year where that happened, I feel like it was an advantage to the road team just because there aren't as many kids that travel from Lawrence to Arrowhead. So if that is in fact confirmed, I'm seeing on ESPN bet actually a 13, but Kansas is, it's at David Booth. Never mind. Scrap that. So there's 13 out there as well. Fresno State was not horrible last year. They actually have Kurt Warner's kid taking over as quarterback this year, which will be interesting. But again, you're talking about a Power 5 team that seemed like they took some steps in the right direction. Jalen Daniels is a really solid quarterback for them. I know they brought in some pieces that people are excited about. Again, it's really hard for me to keep track of everything with the transfer portal. So one of those things where I personally think the number is too big for what Fresno State's offense is probably going to be. And not to say that Kansas's defense can't really give them fits, but I just feel like this number is too big. I think they can keep it 10 points within 2 touchdowns. I know that there's a point to work with there, but that 2 touchdown mark, especially if it keeps creeping up that way, I like Fresno State here.
Yeah, I do too. Kansas State is well coached. What's his name? Leopold, I think that coach's name is. He's a pretty solid coach. I mean, they were one of the worst programs in the Big 12 before he took over, and he's kind of righted the ship a little bit. I think they had some steps back last year. I think they were expecting a bigger jump, and they didn't quite get that. But, I mean, they weren't bad by any means. But I kind of agree with your sentiment. The way I'm envisioning this game in my head is Fresno State's not going to have too much trouble moving the ball. I think they're going to really hurt themselves if they turn the ball over, though. Because, I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to give away possessions and still be able to keep up with Kansas in that regard. If that makes any sense. And I mean, like, if you throw a pick six in the start the second half and you're down 14, I don't see them overcoming that. But if it's, their defense shows up, gets a couple of stops here and there, it could be a 10-point game. I don't see them winning outright, but probably worth the sprinkle. But I do like the points here as well. Now, what I said earlier, Sam Houston and Western Kentucky. Let me double check that line.
10.5.
Sam,
Western
10.5, steamed up a point. Over under is 61.5. This is like the second game. I wouldn't advise any action on this one. I would probably steer towards the total. I would take the under in this game as opposed to the first one. And that is a daunting proposition because Western Kentucky can really score. It's funny, this is a conference game, isn't it?
Is it? Is this a CUSA game? Yeah, that is.
Western, right? Yeah, I think so.
Sam Houston's in the CUSA. I know Western is.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about Western. I know Sam Houston is. I've
Kentucky
watched too many of those shitty football games on Tuesday nights, but yes, they are. And I guess my whole logic behind that is I don't really know. I just think everyone, when they picture Western Kentucky, remembers Bailey Zappi throwing for 6,000 yards and 60 touchdowns or whatever it was 2 years ago. And I've watched a lot of Conference USA. Sam Houston is really, really, really bad. They're really bad, which is like they shouldn't be, but yet they're competitive, but they're still really bad. And Western wasn't all that good either. Like I remember 2 years ago, I nuked them in the bowl game, and that was crazy because they were down 28-0 against Old Dominion, and they won. And then last year, I'm like, oh, they're going to be so good. Money team last year, they got thumped. So I don't know if I'm being biased about them not being able to do anything, but I'm not talking about the spread. Sam Houston's bad. I kind of like this under. I don't know if you have an opinion on this game.
I like the toppers. Lay the points. Not much more than that. I think that's probably the pick that you and I both like as in terms of side. But again, this is not one of the games on the slate that is an advised play. But that's what we're gonna roll with.
Works for me. All right, and the last one, the nightcap, Hawaii and Stanford. I know Will already bet Hawaii, got a good number, -120. If I can find that, I'll probably take that as well. But I'm a little scared because I think Hawaii is a little trendy, and I think everyone's kind of picking this as like, hey, this is a good spot for them. And while I don't agree with that, I just think it's a little too trendy. And yes, Stanford's not good. Yes, Stanford struggled in a pretty poor conference in the ACC from top to bottom, outside of Clemson and SMU. I don't know if I can't say like with all my heart they were that bad. Like they weren't good. I'm not trying to say that, but like were they that bad? Like Hawaii's not good either. But they're all. I feel like they're in the same boat. Like if Hawaii played a Power 4 schedule,
they're both rebuilding.
Very similar.
They're both in like pretty deep rebuilds. You kind of look at both sides. Stanford, I can't remember the kid's name. He's a 6th-year quarterback. He's back again, so they're giving him the Cam Rising treatment. I've heard nothing but good things about Micah Alejado, the new quarterback for Hawaii. So I know that people that have followed that program are really excited about the offense. That travel usually throws teams off. I know in other sports they tend to do really well at home. Last year I think they were 500 at home, so a little bit different in football because they probably get there for a couple of days, acclimate to it. But yeah, I got this last week at -120. I took the money line. It was still at -2 when I took it, but I just took the money line. The price was good for it. So
Smart.
It's at -2.5 right now. I still would lean that way. I would still take the 2.5, but I'm going to endorse the money line here, even at the -130. I'm still endorsing. I wouldn't mess around with the points. Just take the win. I think that's where this is going to go. I think this is probably a one possession game in either direction, and I think that's just the better side, in my opinion, based on things that I've heard about the program. And yeah.
Yep, and I'd lean the same way. Like I said, I'm just kind of. That's like every week I seem to have like let's see what Twitter thinks play. This is the one for me. I just want to see how trendy Hawaii is come Friday night. And then I'll probably See, but I don't want to wait too long. That's kind of the pickle you're in. So it's like I'm not going to play Stanford at 2. I'd have to play him at 3.5 if I were to play Stanford. So line did flip from 0, according from what I could see. Stanford opened as a favorite. That's the only thing that concerns me. So, but I mean, opening as a favorite, that could have been 6 months ago, whenever those lines dropped. So, like, for all intents and purposes, they didn't, but like technically they did. But in any case, do you have anything else? Because that's the slate. It's a short one this week, which is a little disappointing. I do usually like the Sunday night game that we get to watch Brian Kelly lose, but I don't think we get it this year. But
no, we don't. Let's do a little recap before we round out. So we've got Iowa State +3 / the money line +130, whatever your heart is desiring. I think we both endorse either of those. So we'll just say Iowa State +3 as well as the under 49.5. UNLV -24.5. Fresno State +12.5. Western Kentucky -10.5. Hawaii money line -120, -130, whatever you can get wherever you're at. So that's the recap. Week 0. We're only, I guess by the time this comes out, we'll be 4 days away, but it's here. Stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribing to the Substack so you can get our article. We will release the week 0 one probably in the next couple of days before Saturday kicks off. Make sure you're subscribed to that so you get all the articles with all of our picks early. Make sure you're following us on Twitter so you see these. These are going to be live shows starting next week, and you will not want to miss those. So we'll see you next week.